soon, just today. Yes, you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4, 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just throw that cash in a backpack, run around the back.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Vince, one half of Irie Lemon here. I just want to say thank you guys for supporting our podcast. We're almost up to 1 year. So what we did is we have 10 clips for our top 10 episodes, and we're excited to share these clips with you guys. Again, thank you so much for 1 year, and thank you guys so much for supporting our podcast. Liz is in Boston right now, so she can't hop on this voice memo. But again, please share with somebody, and we hope you guys enjoy. Take care. Thank you guys so much.
And there's people that will tell you this is what you should absolutely this is what you should absolutely do, and then I'm like, never in my life would I. You know, it's interesting.
Oh wow!
Like people,
so give an example of that. What's something that people tell you to do with it?
Well, so people say you should niche out, find your niche, find what it is, and go narrow and go deep within that narrow.
Yeah.
But what if you don't like that? What if you don't always want to talk about? What did you say? If you looked up search terms in food blogging, like poke cakes?
Oh, poke cakes or casseroles,
pudding and stuff.
Exactly.
You're like, if I could make,
if I wanted to go viral and be the biggest Instagrammer, I would be doing poke cakes and casseroles and cheesy brownies or cheesy, all that. You get chocolatey. See,
you've heard it here.
I mean, like here's savory brownies.
Right, savory brownies.
But like also there'd be people that would say, Liz, you shouldn't start travel blogging because you should just focus on food. Well, that's what
that's not what you want to do.
Right, that's not my life.
You have to go with what your passion is, right? And so if I wanted to follow that, so let's think about like YouTube. My most watched video on YouTube, well, 2 of them actually, are about decluttering.
I was going to say decluttering.
And it's by a long shot. I have, and I don't even know because I don't really stay on top of numbers and analytics and stuff because I honestly don't really care, but I think it's more than 100,000 people have watched this epic closet declutter that I did 2 years ago.
And you never were like, I'm an organization skill.
Right. And I think it was probably relatable because I'm not the expert, which I think is another big tip. You don't have to be the expert.
Right.
It's more relatable if you're not. Mm-hmm. And so I think people like really resonated with the way that I was just like, what the hell? Like I was just a real person going through their stuff and taking you through that process. But if I wanted to try to go viral and I wanted to try to get more followers, like I would just totally pivot my channel to be all about decluttering. But guess what? That would be boring to me. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of doing. Mm-hmm. So another way of saying it is like I'm a big fan of B+ work. Not A+, not perfection. Because if you wait for things to be perfect, you literally will never do anything in your life.
Sam, clip that. B+ work.
Don't do I'm a big fan of B+ work. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, I'm not, maybe my B+ work is someone else's A+ work. And on the other hand, my A+ work is probably someone else's D. So, you got to just figure out your comfort level. It's just like money, different people feel more comfortable with different amounts of money in their bank account. It's all subjective. I get that. But we all have our own levels of B+. So whatever your B+ is, aim for that. But what would you recommend to someone? What's the best tool or resource, which we can also, of course, link to in the show notes for people that want to know their type?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked because if you're anything like me, as soon as you start listening to this podcast, you're going to want to get on the computer and let me take a test and see what number I am. Do not take a test. I know that's how you did it, Vince, but
we've all done it.
We've all done it. Okay. I've done it. But the Enneagram is so deep and interesting that sometimes I've found the best way to figure out your type is to talk to other people who've known you for an extended amount of time, because they've known you at your best and your worst, and through a longer time period. When I first learned about the Enneagram, like 15 years ago, I thought I was a 2 because everyone that I was talking with at work about the Enneagram saw me in a very helper role. The 2 is the helper, and so I fit into that mold for them, and it sounded about right.
It's like me when people thought I was a 7 because I'm always throwing parties and traveling.
Right.
You know
the 7 is the enthusiast.
On paper, right.
Yeah. So
the book that you gave me is also
that book is
would
awesome.
You say that's okay also to
there are a
dive
few
through
different
some books?
Yes, there's so many good books. Riso Hudson, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. That is the book that I gave you.
Yeah, I love that book.
That's
which I since gave you.
Yeah, that book's crazy.
I like
That
that
book
the rest
is
of
wild.
You do this book.
It's a comprehensive resource. It's almost like a textbook. You know, it goes through
You'll go
every
to it
chapter.
at different times in your life to
Right.
look at
It's like
different
a
aspects.
reference.
Correct. And as you meet new people, like even when I met Vince, like now I'm looking at the chapter 3. Like it's a good resource to your point. It's a good investment because you will go to it throughout
Right.
time.
And I think it's $18 on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. So this started when I worked in the corporate world. I learned when I worked with Marriott about making SMART goals, which is what are those called? Where the first letter stands for something. Well, anyways.
You broke it down, but I wasn't.
No, I know what they all stand for, but I forget what it's called when it's a whatever. But acronym, thank you.
Acronym.
So S is for specific.
Did I say that wrong?
So you really have to get specific with goals because I think if it's too generic, it's going to be hard for you to really know what to do. So the more specific you can get with your goals, the better. Number 2, it needs to be measurable. Because again, how do you know if you've actually reached the goal without a measurement? Where are we at? It needs to be achievable. Like it can't be too, I want to make $5 million if you're making 20 grand right now. So it has to be achievable. It needs to be, I feel like isn't R realistic? And then T is timely. So I'll link to like the official definition of, I didn't come up with the concept of SMART goals, but when I write goals, they're all SMART goals. So they are specific, there's timelines, there's an actual measurement. And the other thing I always do is I include a reason why. So, I think that it's just good to have a format to how you write your goals. And I think there is something to be said just for writing them out.
I like 3 things. I think first off, from my experience, all business is done based off relationships. Like, someone likes you, you have a way better chance of getting the business. Like, I don't think people understand that how much of the work can get done by millions of other people. Like, if it's a photo or video, that's subjective. There's like a billion people that I can hire to do that. If I like you to do my photo and videos, then I want you. And on top of that, it's like, oh, I like your perspective, your creativeness. Well, that's all like things I like about you as a person. So I think that's something that's interesting. I think the second thing is there's kind of the second and third thing is kind of 2 or 3 routes you can take. One route is like, if you don't have anything, right? Like you don't have a business, you're just trying to network, you're just trying to meet people. I really think you should double down on making friends and learning and understanding, like Anthony said, the landscape, because you don't have anything there. So be happy to be there. Be happy to be part of that event. Try to connect and network with people and make friends, or at least understand where the opportunity is. And the only ways you do that is by having authentic conversations, right? Like if you don't have that, then you completely miss the opportunity. Now, if you do have something, like, and you're kind of nervous or you're working on your pitch, I will go to, have you mastered your craft? And do you have confidence? If you have confidence in what you're doing, right, and you're being authentic, and again, you're building relationships, it should just be easy for you to flow and have a conversation. Because if you're a great architect, and you believe that you're a great architect, you can get a Pioneer Construction, a big construction company, to pay you to like design a building for them because you believe that you're good. So I think there's like a lot of things you can do, but those are the 3 things I think that have worked for me and I've seen work for other people.
Have you guys heard the good news? Vince and I are teaming up once again for another Irie Lemon pop-up. Taking place Thursday, August 20th from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're coming back with a brand new concept that I think you guys are going to like. Imagine customizable bowls, wraps, and salads with all of your favorite Jamaican and Middle Eastern dishes. Save the date, August 20th, Thursday, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can pre-order now. Link is in the show notes. I hope to meet some of you in person. Please stop by. See you then.
Give us a couple leadership advice. Like, what have you learned through your experience? I want to take some nuggets.
Okay.
What makes a strong leader?
Well, I think you have to be disciplined. Your leadership, what your daily habits will define your leadership skills.
Ooh.
What you do it every day. So, if you're not looking at your numbers every day, then I know you're not looking at the details. So what you do every day, and you got to understand, if you're a leader, people are watching you. So what's important for you is important to them. So in a restaurant, right, if you don't really care about the steps of service, right, why should they care? Or the wine service, or describing the menu. So to me, what you do every single day, from what time do you go to work, how long you stay, what you're focusing on is important.
All right, let's go. Leading with love. That's a good call, though.
Yeah, I just thought about it. It's popped in. So real quick, when leading a team, I think a lot of, I kind of mentioned with the bad boss, I think a lot of leaders lead with like fear.
Okay, so give me some examples of that. Have you had a leader that led with fear?
No, I've always worked for myself, but I've been around people that do that.
Okay.
Like, you gotta hit this goal or this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And it's like more of like.
And why is that bad?
I just think like there's two ways to lead. You lead with fear and you lead with love, and I think you get the same results. And anyone that's an achiever who's a leader, you have to recognize that like people can have a good time, be happy, and still get the goal.
Right.
I think a lot of times we, like even people like me, we might tend to get worried that like if people are like yelling around too much or having too much fun, they're not working.
Right.
And it's like, no, you can have a great work environment. Right? You probably get better results.
Like when we were actually on TikTok for an hour last week.
Yeah, and it turned out to be really good for us. And it's just like, or we
follow us on TikTok.
Follow us on TikTok. Or it could have got really bad and like, no, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Right? Now, obviously, I'm not saying to be like weak on your employees. Like, if
we don't have time to do that today, Vince.
Yeah, just like if you want people to get goals, you have to give them something to like.
Yeah.
But like lead with love. Like, how can I help you? Why are you not hitting your goals? Is this the right position for you? Like, that's all love conversations.
Yeah.
Fear would be like, oh, I don't know they're doing good.
Yeah.
And then maybe like put pressure on them, like, hey, just let you know, like a week before, like,
yeah, ticket sales are low or sales are down or whatever the like threat might be. Like,
yeah, you're putting fear into your team. You're not giving them the support that they need. As a leader, it's like kind of like you're always supporting people and you're always like.
I see a lot of this with people that work in offices and the leader micromanages. Yeah. And I think a lot of leaders that micromanage are micromanaging based on fear. So, for example, they might be afraid to, they might not trust their associates to actually be performing well, and they're afraid.
Exactly.
And so then they start hyper micromanaging, and then what I find what happens with that is that then the employee feels suffocated, they get resentful, they start, not performing well. Yeah. As opposed to,
I think you gotta let them fail.
Yeah.
Let your team fail.
Yeah.
Like let them do like so. Like,
what I find, I just ran into this with my marketing manager, is that there was a system we wanted to make better, and I realized that we could actually create a system that's helpful, as opposed to creating all these like strong restrictions and requirements in like a micromanagement format. Just saying, hey, would this tool be helpful for you? We can put it together for you. And I've learned some people actually want that structure and need that organization, and it's helpful to them. I was always so afraid to micromanage. Yeah. Again, fear.
And exactly.
And now
fear.
I'm realizing that it's
and that's more of a support thing, right?
Right.
And like I go back to let people fail because they probably tried their way and it wasn't getting the results. So now they know that the way and this is where I feel like I believe deeply, right? Like let them go through it and then realize that you're here to help. Because a lot of times, and this goes to my last point, people who like are messed up or they can't recognize love. They think you're trying to control them.
Look at you. This is a big,
like,
big one.
They might not realize you're trying to support them and love them.
So what happens in there? What does that look like?
So, on the receiving end, sometimes you might feel like someone's trying to control you, micromanage you, don't believe in you. When it's really like, no, I'm coming with love. I'm here to support you. But you haven't faced those things yet, so you don't recognize that like this is love. And I run into this a lot because I have a lot of female friends.
I run into that a ton.
And I run into a lot, and it's outside of work. But I'm giving you an analogy. I have a lot of female friends. A lot of times when I'm nice to girls, they don't understand that I'm like actually trying to be their friend. I'm not trying to get anything from them. But I've done to realize that like a lot of guys act nice to get something from them. Right. And so for me, it's like, well, if you want to get something from somebody, it is actually a great way to act nice.
Yeah. I've noticed
like being nice and being good to people, it will get you anything you want.
100%.
So if you are that kind of person who's manipulative or whatever, like, you should probably be nice, bro.
And I feel like if you're not being manipulative, you have nothing to worry about.
Exactly. And then like, so when leading a team, supporting and showing your team love and letting them fail and not micromanaging them unless they need that very, very structure is like helps with growth, and then you guys can go fast.
So where would you say was the shift? Like, I know even when I started the Lemon Bowl, like, I didn't make any money for 3 years. So it's been this is my 10th anniversary coming up. So it was a very gradual, slow transformation of passion project, I guess, to profitable business. So where would you say, I'm sure you've had different milestones over the last 7 years of different fundamental changes you made in the way that you do things, or even just the way obviously you now have a lot more people going down. Where would you say was the first big shift that you made?
So I think, so if we go back to year one.
Yeah.
We finished this thing. We know there's something there. We're not sure what it was. Luckily, like, we were not the only people that felt that way. So I mean, something we should get out there. So the way Michigan House works is we have sponsors, partners, that's how we pay for everything. And, it's not a small
budget
bill in the end. So you need a lot of them, and you need them to be, to be invested in the idea and understand the idea. And again, this is like a thing that happens for 4 days, and it happens in Texas, 1,000 miles away from where most of these businesses are located, or at least at home, their home is. So you need some trust from those people. So that first year, we got back. Some of those organizations got together. It was like, this needs to happen again. You guys need to be the people that run it. This organization created many. At that point, it was like, okay, we're going to give you guys a 2-year contract to keep doing that. So at that point, it was like, okay, this makes sense for us. We had a blast, and we had sort of a contract to do it. It wasn't the kind of contract where we're like, Jamie's like, oh, I'm quitting Wolverine.
Right.
Like, it was not market rate at all. It was very much like, this is what can happen. But we also knew that there was something there. So let's follow this and see. For me personally, that was the time where I was like, okay, I was the one who had the most sort of, I was the one who had the most time at that point to be like, this is what I'm going to start kind of following up on, and like, let's see where this can go. And so I think for me, that shift was like sort of then. Over the last 5 years, it's kind of been this kind of gradual growth. And I think like one thing that's really important for people to understand is like, if they go to Michigan House now, as opposed to what it was, like, I think one of the reasons we've been successful is because we've done it step by step. We've not skipped any steps. I mean, we're lucky because it's like we only do it like one time a year at South by. We've done other ones, and that's a whole other thing. But because we do that step by step, and we've kind of grown slowly, we've like grown our skills and grown our ability to do it as we've done it. We've also been able to grow our partnerships, and the sort of budget has grown to a point where, what was it, a year and a half ago now, when this Creative Many organization that had been kind of the fiduciary behind it all is like, we can't do this anymore. And then a year later, they're like, they can't do anything anymore. They're just not going to exist. We at that point were like, you know what, we're actually ready to just take this over completely. Or I was anyways, and I was able to convince Jamie and Peter we were as well.
Friendship, yes.
Yeah. Well, and that was like the next big moment. And I sometimes like have to remind myself that was like that's a big change. And so like, last year was the first year where, we did not have a statewide organization and their like full budget behind it. Like we were the ones taking all of the risk. We were the ones
writing all the checks.
We were the one, like, if we didn't have enough money, we didn't get paid. And that wasn't always the case before. So we were able to, because we had that backing at the beginning, it kind of gave us some runway to start. And then the last 2 years have been really when we've just carried everything. And I think, so that was the moment for me where this is like, oh wow, this is a whole other thing. And I think, we're still figuring out like, okay, so what does that mean? What else do we do? Like, what's the next step?
And because
I
of her,
was worried that we were gonna like get through this whole thing, and I was not gonna be able to talk about managing expectations.
Oh.
I was not worried that was.
I want to hear this right
But
now.
My
let's go.
Yeah, we're here for
theme
this.
in life, and all of my mantra, my colleagues, my business partners, everyone laughs at me every time I say it. But I think that I could plan things to death. And I've been working really hard on winging it more, and the people that surround me help me to
Okay, I'm
relax
not alone
a
in that.
little bit.
I actually, what's your it's around planning and then being flexible. What's your other line you say? It's like
Plan to relax.
No, it's like plan as much as you can. And then be flexible in the actual moment. Like plan ahead of time, and I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly.
Think of it. Let us know. That's good.
That's the concept that like if you have the plan ahead of time, you can be flexible and
present in the moment.
Present in the moment, and know what the next steps are without. And I don't know.
No, it's real because we're cooking tonight. All right, 3.
Yeah.
And Liz planned it all out. Old Vince would just like showed up at like 3:50. Oh, I just bought everything. Now let's do it.
Right.
Like late.
Like, how do you think the groceries would have arrived?
Right. She's asking me about like a handful of kale. I'm like, Liz, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? But like now I know like everything's gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be planned out. It's gonna be easy, less stress, less anxiety. Everything's ready to go. And
save money because you're not like buying things last minute or buying too much. Like actually, a little bit of thought.
Right. Well, and I think like everybody can, especially in an experience, whatever, like, or in a meeting or in a, coming into any situation, if people's expectations are managed and they know what they're getting into, what is expected of them, then they can relax. They can have a good time, when that like basic need is met.
Can you inspire people about maybe where that, like maybe going back to like where that comes from in you, that solution-oriented mindset of not using excuses to stop you from actually putting your ideas into play?
Ultimately, no one's going to do it for you. And so I think that setting expectations with yourself is key, because there is ideas that I have that I couldn't do unless if I had investors or this or that, right? But it's about bucketing and prioritizing what you want to accomplish. So for people who want to throw events or do this or that, start with something that you can do without any help.
Yeah.
Then reach out to people, because people were very receptive to me, and I was in a luckily situation where like I knew that I will fund this with or without sponsorship money. I was prepared to take a loss if I had to, because it was about building something bigger than that. So it's not a loss. There was no failure for me in that event as, I lost a bunch of money. No, I was going to make sure people were there no matter what. And I was going to make sure people had an experience that they hadn't had before. And so if you manage the expectation and you have the right infrastructure, when you come at people, instead of, hey, with your help, I can do this, if you can come at them with, hey, I'm going to do this, would you like to be involved? Exactly. It's a lot more powerful. But then you have to set, what you can actually accomplish with or without help. So I would say to anyone who has these ideas, don't let something that needs funding or you need this help or this help to accomplish it, go dial it down and go to something that you can accomplish without help, and then approach people and say, listen, this is something I want to do. So smaller scale, you may have a grand idea, it just so happened I was in a position where I could do this idea at this scale. But I think the biggest thing that stops a lot of people is they think that they need someone else, or they reach out to people under that, with that mindset, where I would say reverse that. And what can you accomplish now by yourself? Or who do you have on your side for sure that can help you, that is 100% game, and then go with that route first. Because otherwise you're just gonna, it's my buddy Mitch told me this, analysis paralysis, or paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
You just think and try and then you never do. Yeah. So ultimately, okay, that's cool. You might have an idea that is that, and you can't do it now. So bucket that, understand how to make strides towards it. But if you want to actually do something, then do something you can do.
Right.
Some jazz to amaze you. You gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4 or 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just show that cash in a back bag.